Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad you're here this morning. Got a great show lined up. But first, our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of Baldwin and Highway 77. We're looking at a good day today, folks. First of all, the low is going to be 57. And we've been waiting for this cool weather for a long time. High today is going to be 75. And the water temperature is still at 83 degrees. It just has not cooled down. And I'm going to tell you, I was thinking about this. I was fishing some last week, and it was so hot out there on the bay. And I was thinking, it's just like, August and September. So what we got to do, we got to get a mindset. And now the cool weather's coming in. So the next 4 weeks are going to be our fall. For the first 2 weeks of November, it's going to be like October. So get your mindset. You got 2 weeks of October and 2 weeks of November, but it's going to be like the normal October as far as fishing and doing outdoor stuff. So keep that in mind and plan accordingly. The river readings brought to us by Sandhill Seafood up on Highway 77, just north of Bozeman. We're looking at the Bluntstown reading for the Apalachicola River is at a 5.5, and it is steady. It is in good shape there. The Choctawhatchee Caravelle dropping out pretty fast now. It's dropped on out the last day or two. It's down to a 7.2, but it did get high last week. Our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home and Cemetery. We're looking at the reading today, the neap tides. Today is Tuesday, October the 17th. The next 3 or 4 days are going to be neap, but now Saturday morning, you got a fast dropping tide this coming Saturday, so it should be really good if you're going to do some bay fishing. But now the afternoon fishing won't be good. So if you're going to fish this weekend, go ahead and plan to fish Saturday morning, okay? The marine forecast is coming out of southeast at about 5 to 10. Now, let's take a look at, one thing I was going to mention, the river readings, that video yesterday, the river was at 17 foot. That was a lot of difference from what it was or is now, so keep that in mind too. Let's take a break. Wait, I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and call Sea Quarter during the break, and then I'm going to come back and talk to Sea Quarter and Marine and get a report from them. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, folks. On the phone now, I've got Captain Kim at Sea Quarter Marina. Good morning.
Good morning, Panhandle Outdoors.
How you doing, Captain Kim? How's everything today?
We're doing great. The weather's been beautiful today. Yesterday was a real nice, little easy day. The seas calmed down a little bit, and we had some trout and redfish fishermen go out. They're using the Strike Kings have been real popular with the real plentiful trout right now. And we had Captain Scott went out this weekend, and he got a good variety of grunts and sea bass and grouper. They did real nice time.
Wow, that's really good. How has the grouper fishing been?
It's been pretty good. There's a little bit of rumor every now and again they'll pull up a short, but for the most part they're getting what they need, and it's the last 3 or 4 days been pretty good. So it was a little bit breezy on this weekend, but everyone is diehard around here, so they go anyway.
I understand that. Okay, the big question now: what about the mullet?
Lots and lots of mullet right now, and I had a rumor yesterday there was a couple with some roe in it, and I'm having smoked mullet for breakfast right now. They've been real hot and heavy around Dog Island, and actually you can see them jump right here in front of the marina most every morning. So it's been, they're coming in good. Okay, so the roe,
they seeing some with roe in them?
Yeah, little bit, not quite like usual, yet. It's still a little bit early.
Okay, all right. What about the flounder? Anything going on with the flounder?
Yeah, there was a couple flounder caught this weekend, and it's just right on the Dog Island side, and it's, I think, pretty good size, for this time of year. It's not bad. They've been doing pretty good out there.
Kim, y'all get very many flounder giggers, or is the water clear enough for gigging down there for most of the time?
Yeah, this weekend wasn't real conducive because it was just a bit windy and choppy, so the water clarity wasn't as good, with the seas and what have you. Had a couple divers go out Friday, I think it was, and they did real good gigging, diving on them.
Okay.
And it's been, the current with the astronomical tide we've had the last week or two, the current's running on top pretty hard, but once you get down below it, it's not so bad. So, some of them are using a little extra weight, what have you, to get down past that top knot current.
All right.
But they've been doing real good.
That's interesting there. Okay, one more report. What about the freshwater fishing?
Oh, that's always popular around here. And, of course, when it gets a little choppy out in the bay, they tend to go right up the river here from the marina. We've got plenty of worms and crickets, and we've got a lot of the Z-mans are popular right now, too. They got the trout tricks, and they got the special head that goes with them, and that seems to be working real well.
That's the beauty of that area down there. If it's too windy out in the bay, you just go up the river.
It's perfect, yes, it is.
Okay, all right.
Well, listen. They've been real big, so they've been real happy.
That's good. How far are the trout and redfish getting up the river?
Oh, you don't have to even go too far past the bridge. I mean, they're right here in the bayou.
All right.
Mostly right inside the river as you're coming in from the bay, and then just a little bit to the west towards the bridge, right in the bayous and stuff there. So you don't have to go real far. Once you get up past the bridge, they're catching a lot of brim, and real good-sized brim.
That sounds good. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Captain Kim.
Sounds good. Appreciate the call, Mr. Chester. We'll talk to you again.
Okay. Talk to you later. All right. Good report here from Seacourt and Marina. A lot of stuff going on down there, and it's good to hear from them. Let's look at a couple of pictures now on this segment. Here we go. Let's go. We're talking about outdoor photography and, any river system, but it's good taking pictures of bay system. Here was Tom Gurley. Tom at St. Andrews State Park. Isn't that a beautiful picture right there? Great picture. Let's move on. This is Adam Carter sent us into Panama City hunting. I thought this is no big deal, just checking the trail cameras, and look what's on this. You don't see a big buck, you don't see a bear, but you do see a gator. Adam Carter, he's one of the preachers out there at North Star East Side. Calvin Gann, a lot of y'all know the Gann family and all. Calvin said, another successful day of bass fishing. Not sure why my grandsons, Mason and Parker, laughed at my catch. All right, Calvin, that's a good job. You get it mounted. Bill Angevine, Panama City Fishing. Bill fishes a pier awful lot. That's a good fisherman. Got these two pompano raw shrimp about 6:15 p.m. So there's the small ones there, so it's only a matter of time. I had a chance to pompano fish some this past weekend, but I just tell you, I just felt like it's so warm, the migration has not started. The water temperature is so warm, so like I say, I'm going to delay it another week or two before we're doing a surf fishing for pompano. Okay, this had nothing to do outdoors. My son just likes guitars. I found this picture, someone sent it, and I thought this would be a great table for a music lover if you want to make something special for someone who likes to play music. Okay, let's move on. One of my former students, Seth Walsh. This is a 33-inch red off the Tyndall Bridge in East Bay. They were a few feet off the bottom and also tailing on schools of minnows just underneath the surface. So there's a lot of redfish out there. Good job, Seth. That's a pretty picture right there. And Christian Altenkamp. Okay, y'all know Christian, the Altenkamp family. They really do a good job. Look at this yellowfin tuna. And that is a huge tuna. I know there's a group of those guys that went out this past weekend, and they really loaded up on tuna fish. Okay. Good morning, Winston. Just wanted to say thank you very much for drawing my name for the Sand Hill Seafood Platter. We made the beautiful drive from Santa Rosa Beach and so enjoyed our evening. The food was outstanding and the staff was so friendly. Felt like family. We will definitely be back soon and maybe see you and Gail. Have a wonderful week and happy fishing, Stephanie Lambert. Thank you for those kind words there. And wouldn't you know it, Victor Hathcote and Terry posing with Jimmy Houston last week. Good picture there. All right. Jimmy did a good talk. I really enjoyed that last week. Jim Lloyd, fishing off his kayak, actually got to slam. He got a trout, redfish, and flounder. Good job, Jim Lloyd. Good job. And then David Christopher Rich down there at Weewall. The Weewall Gators, that's a nice little bass right there. The Rich family. And let's see. Okay, that's why. Let's take a break. We need to take a break right now. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. One tip. I like to give tips on Panhandle Outdoors. This is a life tip, and got this from off the internet. I thought this is really good. Hang out with people who make you forget to look at your phone. Now, isn't that a great tip right there? Because we become so dependent on what's going on electronically. I want to talk a minute about a speckled trout before we get into it. We were fishing last week, caught a bunch of speckled trout. I get tickled. A lot of people I talked to, when you catch a lot of trout, when we caught a bunch of them, we know all of them about 14 inches, and that's about what we did too. But we had not planned on keeping any anyway that morning. We went a couple mornings, and but anyway, this particular morning we were not going to keep any. We caught a bunch of them, and I took Mason and Ashley with me, and we just had a really good time catching fish. But my point being that I was talking to somebody the other day, said, you know, if all these 14-inch trout, next year ought to be a phenomenal year. Well, it should be, but you know, we've been saying that for many, many years. Captain Roy and I used to talk about, we both would go out and we'd take people out to just catch fish, and that's usually what we end up catching, and catching the really big ones. But you know, 20-inch trout is really good. But these, but anyway, I started doing some research on it. I was thinking about it last night. I want to share some things with you. The speckled trout is the most popular catchable fish. It could be Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, but everybody, and Florida. Everybody loves catching a speckled trout. And they'll live about 5 years, about a lifespan on speckled trout, and they grow pretty fast, and they can reproduce pretty fast and all. But they have predators too, so they have that balance in life. But a speckled trout is a fun way to catch them. And if you're gonna catch the big ones, I know I'll tell you about fishing Mosquito Lagoon. We used live bait down there with a friend of mine from college, and he was really good. He was part-time captain, and we caught a bunch of them on live bait. I'm talking about gator trout. But most time around here, now if you go with our guides, all local guides, local here, or it could be down in Indian Lagoon or wherever, Apalachicola Bay, most of them are going to use live bait. They're going to go out and throw the cast net, catch live bait. And most sport fishermen like us, we're going to just use some kind of artificial. And if we want to catch a big one, though, we're going to go live bait. But anyway, the artificials, we were catching them last week. Well, I use all different things. I ended up catching we ended up catching most of them on a gold spoon. But anyway, looking at a speckled trout, I got a couple of pictures of it. And one of the things, just looking at it in general, and okay, that's just a picture of it right there. But anyway, the speckled trout, the nose I was writing down, it takes them about 3 years now to get 14 inches. 3 years of growth. Now, but the marine biologists tell us, the fisheries biologists, that 70% of the population is 14 inches and below. So that only leaves 30% of big enough to catch. They did some studies on releasing, on their survival rate. And again, a lot of times it's predicated by the weather. But here's the release statistics. A treble hook, catching one on a treble hook with artificial, okay, you got a 97% chance of it surviving. That's pretty high. And that's what most of us fish with, artificial with a treble hook. Next now would be a single hook on artificial, and that's a 91%. And the reason is, I'm not a scientist, but I think the reason is on treble hook, you usually get 2 of those hooks and sort of spreads out the pressure on pulling as much as you would on a single hook, if that makes sense to you. All right, now on live bait, if you use a treble hook on live bait, you only have an 83% survival rate. But if you use a single hook on live bait, it's all the way down to 74%. Again, the same principle where you're putting a lot of pressure with that one single hook on them. But it averages out to be 82%. Now, that was in Louisiana. In Texas, the average is 73% of the speckled trout will survive after being released. And then in Georgia, they're down to 64% of releasing and them surviving. So it's interesting. But you catch, okay, when do you catch the largest fish, your gator trout? Well, all scientists in all different states agree to this. Springtime is when you're going to catch a really large trout, which I was a little surprised because I was thinking it's going to be summertime after they've been eating a lot. But springtime, they're voraciously hungry. The big ones are not quite as careful. The second time to catch one, well, out of the 4 seasons, the second season would be winter. And that makes sense too because they've eaten all summer and fall, and they sort of just being up in these canals and all, getting in warm water. And that's the second best time. Third best time would be fall. And the least best season to catch a trophy one would be in the summer, okay? Then I found a study where they tagged 7,423. This is interesting. They tagged that many now, but they only recovered 221 for this study, okay? They tagged 7,433, and they recovered 221. That's not, to me, that's not very good. But anyway, they still did the study. And 90%, they're talking about the movement, 90% of those stayed in the same, within 5 miles of the same area they were caught in, okay? In Alabama, they did that was Louisiana. Alabama did a study, and they only had 53% that stayed in the same area, so about half and half, within a 5-mile range of where they were tagged. And a few, they found one that was tagged in Apalachicola Bay. They found him in Grand Isle, Louisiana, which was 315 miles, which, you know, again, most of them going to stay in the same area, but some of those really big ones are going to start moving around, and that was interesting there. And keep in mind the predators. Of course, the dolphins are the big predators. Okay, here, let's look at this real quick. Here's the age and years and all. If this is the number of eggs, at 1 year they can do 66,000, 2 years. But you see as they get bigger and older, how many eggs they can put out. A 5-year-old speckled trout, 354,000. So that's why people talking about releasing the big ones and really keeping those 15 or 20-inch ones. And here's a picture of a predator, okay? And that's a great picture there of an osprey getting one. And so that's the predators they got to put up with, the dolphins and the big feeders underneath for the small ones, and then also the birds. So they have predators too. So anyway, the speckled trout is an interesting fish. A lot of people catch it. It's the most popular catchable fish around, and a lot of fun, especially taking young people who never caught a lot of fish. They don't care if it's 14 inches or bigger. They just love catching those fish. Okay, let's take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Let's look at our fishing game times today, brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers down in Port St. Joe, 10:59 a.m. to 12:59 p.m., right in the middle of the day. And tonight, 11:23 to 1:23. And I have getting some few reports of flounder gig. And I tell you what's becoming popular again now. The old timers used to do it all the time, and then the people started getting in boats doing it. Is walking and floundering. It used to be a really big deal. Get along the bay system, and families and all would take a lantern out and just walk along the bay system and flounder gig. Then people started doing it in these bateaus. These boats became so accessible as far as getting in shallow water, so people started floundering out of boats, and for a long time they've done that. But now there's more and more people actually floundering, walking along the way, and you can get some flounder, but it just hasn't been popular for a long time. But it looks like it's swinging back. I do want to talk about tips and all. We're talking about spinning reel. First of all, before that, I want to show you. This is my can y'all see? This is my really nice Shimano lightweight rod. Okay. Very nice rod. Well, the other day, now, I've been fishing a pretty long time. If you look right here, I broke my rod tip. I may not show it. The rod tip, it broke off. I actually closed it in a door, and I did not. Can you believe I did that? I know none of y'all ever done that. But so I'm going to put another rod tip on here, but it still amazes me that someone like us that's fished all our life can still break a rod tip. That's not my first one. I've broken in a door, and it's fascinating to do it. When I do it, I just laugh out loud. I can't believe I did that again. So I've done several. Anyway, but let's go from rods to reels. The reel, braided line, we talk about mono braided, and most guys are fishing and girls are fishing with braided line. But the thing I was going to talk about, we're talking about line backing. That's the original amount of line. Some people are putting mono for backing and then putting the braided, tying it to the braided, and then coming on with braided, because 150 yards. This is right here. I'm going to show you how much. This is a 150 yard spool I put on yesterday. Okay, and that's about how much it will cover. You can see you really want to have a little bit more. If you can see, you want to sort of come up to almost to the lip because of the casting. But it's going to cast pretty good here like this. But anyway, you can put a little bit of backing, but that's 150 yards, and 200 yards is almost too much. So that's why the popular, when you go by line and all, it's right at 150 yards. So that's interesting. Of course, fly fishing, you always put on backing. That's always been a predominant thing. But with braid being so expensive, a lot of people have put mono, and I have some with mono backing, but this is just straight braided right here. So you can do it either way. I actually do it both ways. You can do it either way, but you want to feel confident that you're not, from the braided to the mono, is very secure, because once you do get a big one on occasion, you will, you're going to put a lot of pressure on it. But anyway, they're not braided for real good casting. So keep that in mind as far as doing that, okay? Another tip, I'm throwing out all kinds of tips today. I was having a fish bait trap out the other day, catching some live bait, and I didn't have anything to put. I usually got some old shrimp, old fish heads or something to put in there for bait. And I didn't. So what I did, I'm gonna just tell you I was gonna be creative. I went up to the pantry and I did have, let's pretend this is a can of sardines, okay? I had 1 can of sardines up there, and I went up there and Gail was just looking at me, shaking her head, because I said, I'm gonna make me some bait. So what I did, I took the can of sardines and I opened them up and put them in a plastic bag, okay? Just like this. So all that juice is in there, and that fits perfect. Sealed it in there. And then I poked holes in here, okay, and put it inside the trap. I was going to try to catch some chophas to fish with. Well, I checked it, and it was full of chophas, and I left it in there again because I couldn't fish at that particular time. I left it in there again, and the next morning I went out there and checked it. It had a redfish and a mullet in it, about that big. Of course, I ended up releasing all of them. But what I was going to say, just that sometimes you can't get, a lot of times you want to get fresh, like if you clean your fish and the fish heads and guts and all kinds of stuff like that. But if you get actual guts and all, you always put them in a plastic bag and just poke holes in it. But that can of sardines really lasted for a couple of days, and it was still, the sardines themselves were still in there. That juice, it really attracted them. So be creative and all. This time of year is a really good time to catch live bait, and they're around the docks and everything like that. So be aware of that. One more quick thing, it has nothing to do with fishing. I went down to Howard's Creek, Gal and I did the other day. I wanted to check on something. Also looking forward to seeing all those wildflowers blooming. We go through this wee wall and turn on Howard Creek Road, and guess what? They've mowed everything along the way has been mowed. So we didn't get to see any wildflowers. So I wish they'd wait till maybe the end of October when all those wildflowers are finished blooming. In a couple of weeks, it wouldn't have hurt. So I appreciate the mowing and all, but or at least leave a couple of sections of it, because it's just predominantly beautiful wildflowers. It's just really neat. So if you get a chance to talk to anybody maybe about doing that, and not just on the Howard Creek Road, a lot of other roads are, ditches and all are cut right here in the middle of the fall if they just wait to let all those flowers bloom. Anyway, just my thinking. All right, thank you all for watching Panhandle Outdoors. Appreciate the viewership. Tomorrow we're going to talk about bass fishing. Got a special guest coming on bass fishing tips and a big tournament coming up. So we'll see you then. Do something good for your fellow man. Have a great day, and God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.